Zaxby's, indescribably good.
Good evening, Raider fans, and welcome to Episode 5 of the Rocky Hidalgo Coaches Show, sponsored by Zaxby's. Remember, there's two Zaxby's locations on Johnson's Ferry, one at Lower Roswell Road and the other one at Shallowford. But Coach Hidalgo, here we are with a 2-1 record, another big victory by the Raiders on Friday night, 34-7 over Campbell. What were your initial thoughts on Friday as you came off the field?
I think we're happy that we won, first and foremost. I don't think our coaching staff or our players were particularly satisfied with the way we played the game. I think we played a little sloppy. The game we got up 27-0. Things kind of got out of hand there. The kids weren't really paying attention to what was going on the field. It happens in games like that. We've got to get back to work and start getting ready for Roswell.
When you have a game like that where it is 27-0 at halftime and you can see the kids are saying, okay, this is a little bit like the weekend before against Milton, when do you decide to take your starters out? When do you make that call, Rocky?
Yeah, that's tough. We want to get them out as soon as possible because we want to get everybody in. The problem give an example. 2 years ago, we were beating Campbell 28-0 at halftime, come out in the second half. We kind of go through a couple of series. We put some backup kids in. They score a touchdown. We fumble the ball. They score another touchdown. It's 28-14 with 6 minutes left in the third quarter.
Right.
It ended up being 28-21. We ended up pulling away 42, and they scored a late touchdown, make it 42-28. But you've got to really be careful about that, especially with teams with great athletes who can kind of go the distance anytime and create some big plays. Especially on offense, we don't want to give up any big plays on defense. So we want to really keep our secondary in there. And on the offensive line, we want to be able to control the ball and run the clock. So, we really, about the fourth quarter, we try to start getting some guys in there. If we feel like there's some backups who want to get to play, they feel like they can go in and do a pretty decent job. We try to get those guys in as soon as we possibly can, in the third quarter. So.
You had another big night offensively, 27 first downs, 235 yards rushing, 329 total yards, and 8 for 13 on third down conversion. But your running game has been dominant these last two games, Coach. Talk about your offensive line. They have been superb in the Milton and Campbell games.
Yeah, they've played very well lately. I was really pleased with the way they played at Milton. I think they really got a hat on a hat and picked up all their stunts and pressures. I was really pleased the way they did that. Last week, we kind of came out with a workmanlike attitude, kind of went through our business like we in the first half and did what we needed to do. Mm-hmm. I don't think we played exceptionally well with any particular great effort or anything like that. But,
right.
But for the most part, the kids hung in there and blocked and took care of their assignments. They've grown along a lot together as a group. A lot of it is the cohesion as the unit, and they've been playing together. Every week they get a little better and get a little better, and Coach Evans and Coach Davis and our offensive line coaches do a great job coaching those guys. Have been for years. Traditionally here at Walton High School, our offensive lines have been probably the best part of our football program,
right.
and we're gonna be good up front. That's something we're gonna stake our claim to that year in and year out.
Forster and Hogue had 90 yards. Forster had 89 yards. They're really becoming a double threat. Jim Hogue had the great run. Kyle had a different game than he had against Milton. He just had lots and lots of tough yards, held onto the ball, and just kind of wore them down. But talk a little bit about your running backs.
They're two very different guys. Jim is a guy who's got really great feel for running the football and finding seams and cracks. He's just a naturally gifted running back in terms of finding those seams and kind of falling in there. Kyle is such a special athlete. He's a very strong kid. He's deceptively strong. He's 210 pounds. Mm-hmm. Most people don't realize that by looking at him. And he can fly. He can flat out fly. So he's a kid that you'll see if you watch the video closely. He gets in there and he literally just shoves tacklers down off of him. He's just a bruiser. And if he breaks through the secondary, nobody's going to catch him because he's got such great foot speed. I'm glad to have both of them. They're both great high school backs, and they go in there, they're holding on the ball, doing a great job holding the ball, and they get a lot of tough yards.
Passing game, spread it around quite a bit. Tripp Roberts had 4 catches, but you had, I think, 7 or 8 guys catch the ball on Friday night. And with that kind of diversity as well as the combination of the running game, how do you play defense against Walton High School?
It's like anybody. I think, anytime you play defense against anyone, you got to take about what they do best. And teams are going to line up and try to stop the run against us. And against Roswell Friday night, they're going to line up and they're going to do what they can to take away our running game and force us to throw the football. Bradley, our quarterback, Bradley Kilburn, is really improving. He's played very well the last 2 weeks, distributing the football. He's taking what the defense gives him, which is really all you can ask of your quarterback. Guys who try to force plays and try to create plays, they throw interceptions and they turn the ball over. Bradley's really just going through his reads, going through his progression, and distributing the football to whoever's open and taking what the defense gives him. And that's a sign of maturity on his part. And he's really kind of developing into a great high school quarterback, doing a nice job spreading the ball around and finding the openings.
One of the things you've talked about in preseason is your defensive quarterback tends to be Matt LaMontagne, and Matt had a great game. He had 8 tackles. He had an interception. He had a tremendous hit on one of those little bubble screens that they ran where he hit the guy almost 10, 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage. But what kind of player is – I mean, Matt seems like an easy guy to coach. He's the kind of guy you really want to have out there, just being that leader on the field.
Yeah, I wish I had 11 of him. He is we raced the kids today, and he's such a competitor. He's probably not the fastest kid on the team, but he won the race because he just got off the line quicker. He stuck his head out at the end. He's just one of those guys. He's a winner, and you can't say enough about guys like that. He's a winner. He finds a way to cover He covers guys who are physically more gifted than him, bigger than him, all the time, and he just covers them. At the end of the day, some guys have it and some guys don't. He's one of those guys that he has it. He goes out there and fights for everything that's out on the field, and he's a very good athlete. He's an incredibly strong kid. He squats 530 pounds. People don't realize that about him because he's not a real big guy. But pound for pound, he's our strongest kid. He's amazing to watch in the weight room, and everything he does is full speed, and he's got blinders on. He's focused in on whatever the task at hand, and we would not be 2-1 without him right now.
He's a great player. He's really great to watch. You were, I wouldn't say you were worried about your defense early in the season. You just really didn't know what you had. You had a lot of young players, and now you're 3 games into the season. Are you seeing the kind of improvement, the progression that you want to see?
Yeah, we get better every week. It's I know we've won our last 2 games big, and defensively we've done some good things, and people are, I'm sure people out there, a lot of people are taking notice to what we've done, and we're glad that we've won those games and played like that. But we still have a long way to go, both on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. I really saw a lot of improvement last week out of our linebackers, Dedrick Sunby and Justin Brooks, and Jim Hogue, who's playing linebacker. Ned Cage came in, gave us some solid minutes. Zach Hoadley, a junior, came in and did a decent job for us. But we saw those guys improve a little bit, playing a little faster. Every week we play a little faster. Every week when they kind of get a little more and assimilate a little more what we're doing, they play a little faster. And that's what defense is about, knowing what to do and playing fast. Matt in the secondary, he's got it. Cody Richardson and Zach and Darren Blaylock, they're really getting better. Zach has done a great job. He's a heck of a high school safety right now. Right. He is. He comes up and just sure tackler and really has saved our bacon a bunch and gives us something that we haven't had the last 2 years. A guy who really comes down to the secondary, what we call in football coaching, a guy who drops out of the sky. He drops out of the sky and tackles. Darren is getting better at that stuff, kind of recognizing his reads and fitting on the run. So those, we've got some athletes back there that we haven't had in the past, and as they make a transition from an athlete to a football player, we're going to see more plays, I think, out of those guys. We've got some guys who potentially could be difference makers the second half of the season and going into next year because they're all juniors. And that's exciting to have those guys who can kind of run around and create plays.
Well, Campbell and Milton are behind us, and ahead of us are those dreaded Roswell Hornets, one of our bigger rivals. But before we do, let's take a break and hear from our sponsor, Zaxby's.
Zaxby's, indescribably good.
Back here with the Rocky Hidalgo Coaches Show. And, Rocky, we go to Roswell. Roswell and Walton are historic rivals. We've played on TV. We've had big games. Both teams play well at the other team's place. We've won some big games there when they were big favorites, and they've come in here and beaten us at Raider Valley when we've been favorites. Do the kids you don't have to do anything to get them up for the Roswell game, do you?
No.
No, I wouldn't think so.
You know, it's when we put the schedule together, there were a couple of teams that we definitely wanted on the schedule. Roswell was one. In the last 15 years, we have fought absolute wars with Roswell.
Right.
And most of the time, those games have been for region championships. I wanted to make sure that those guys were still on the schedule. Their staff is, and our staff, we're very good friends. We've kind of spent a lot of time in the off season just kind of talking turkey a little bit. Coach Barker worked with us here at Walton for years. He's one of the best defensive coaches in the state of Georgia. He is an outstanding football coach and a better man. Justin Sanderson, their offensive coordinator, is very good friends of ours. He's an excellent coach, and Coach McFarland,
he's back.
He's back. Yeah, we're excited about that. And, you know, Tim is he's a heck of a football coach. I wasn't real keen on him going back and coaching at Roswell. It makes my job harder.
Right.
But he's a heck of a football coach, and I enjoy kind of shooting the breeze with him before games. And so it's good to go in. Our coaches enjoy playing those guys. Our players enjoy playing them. And it's one of those games that we don't have to worry about showing up and playing hard. The kids will show up and play hard. And, that's good to have. We know it's going to be a tough game, but it's also good to know that the kids are going to show up and give a great effort.
You look at the schedule and you look at the record, and Walton's 2-1, and then you see, wow, Roswell's 0-3. They must be having a down season until you realize they lose to Collins Hill by less than a touchdown. They lose to Peachtree Ridge by less than a touchdown. And they lose to Norcross, I guess, by less than a touchdown. So they're 0-3, having played 3 virtual top 10 teams. They're going to be wanting to grab that first win at home. I mean, is there anything in particular or special or different you do when you've got that, that classic dangerous team?
Well, they're a dangerous team. I don't care if the record's 3-0 or 0-3. They've got a very good football team. They had opportunities to win all 3 of those games. We've got to preach to our kids. One of the things is you got to ignore the record. And our kids are smart enough to look at the teams that they played and understand that they were in those games. Peachtree Ridge, they've beaten McEachern, beaten Noonan. I mean, they've got some very good, some big wins on their schedule. Roswell's one of those teams that they've gone everywhere they've gone. They've got a team will travel, they'll play anybody, and they've hung in there with those teams and had opportunities to win those games. I know their backs. I know their coaches and their players. Their back's going to be to the wall, and they're going to give an outstanding effort on Friday night. So I tell our kids we've got to match their effort, and we've got to come out and exceed it. And we want to overwhelm them with our effort. And that's kind of the message we're trying to send to our kids right now. That don't let it be about Roswell. Let it be about Walton High School and what we want to do. They're
similar to us, though, because don't they? They want to play great defense, as you said, but they love to run the football.
Yes.
And they want to control the ball on the line of scrimmage. Does that make it easier sometimes to play your alter ego, or harder?
They're like us in a lot of ways. They do what they do. They're not real fancy on what they do on the defensive side of the ball. They're just exceptionally well coached. I mean, they do a great job of tackling. They do a great job of fits. Their defensive line, they play on the line of scrimmage. They put their hands on the offensive lineman. I mean, all the little things that you're supposed to do as a coach, teach your kids, they do it. It's really impressive to watch them on tape. Offensively, they've got a great tailback. Their offensive line play is very, very good. They've got a really good quarterback who can do a lot of things, run the ball, throw the ball. Just kind of looking at those guys in terms of if, they want to do the same thing to us that we're trying to do to them. They want to stop us from running the football. We're going to try to take their tailback out of the game.
Yep.
Take it away so he's not getting he's limit his yardage. They want to limit big plays in the passing game that we know they're going to come out and throw the play action pass. They know we're going to do the same thing. So we know those things are coming. We're trying to prepare our kids. It's kind of really who blinks first. We want to make it a physical battle with our kids, and we want to challenge them to come out and win the game up front. And if we do that, we feel like we have a good shot to win the game.
Good. Coach, one of the questions I get asked a lot about you and Coach Allen and the other coaches is, do you watch a lot of football?
I spent about 14 hours on the couch Saturday. I was
Good.
very fortunate. I usually don't do that because I have children, and Saturday's my day to spend with the kids. But my wife had family in this weekend, and they just were went out. They went to do this, and I got to watch Ohio State, Miami, and LSU and Vanderbilt, and TiVo'd Alabama and Penn State, and watched Oregon and Tennessee. So I watched football until probably about 3 o'clock at night. And, it's kind of funny. When we watch football, we watch it a little differently than probably just the everyday Joe, because coaches call back and forth and say, hey, did you see what Alabama just did? Did you see? You pick things up when you watch those things. And we would be stupid not to. We can't do everything that Alabama does or everything that Ohio State does, but you do pick up little things, how they coach things. You can see how they're playing particular things. So for me, it's kind of like going to a coaching clinic and sitting down watching those games. I TiVo the games, or I DVR the games. I don't know if we can say TiVo anymore. I don't know if that even still exists. But we DVR the games, and we go back and watch them, and you know, depending on how, if you know, teams playing Michigan with a new spread, I'll be interested to see what they do there, how teams play those teams, how Ohio State plays them. So I'll have a copy of that game, just kind of look and see what they do for future reference. But we watch a ton of football. You know, I love the game, love the sport, and there's not much better than Friday or Saturday nights in the fall.
You watch some of our boys that, you know, I know that Chase was on TV against UCLA, Stanford, and do you keep an eye out for our Walton boys when they play?
I do. We had when Southern Miss played South Carolina, we were watching for Austin Quattrochi on mobile TV on a cell phone. We were down there in a JV game, and our coaches were talking about Chase Thomas. I hope, Chase, if you're watching the video about you getting TKO'd on the punt return.
We all saw that, Chase.
We did. I know he was hoping we were all sleeping, but we all saw that. So we do go on and watch. I saw Kyle Westman twice on national TV on ESPN. You know, and I look forward to. I've been watched for Brandon Burrows on Saturday. I did not see Brandon, but I'm sure he was down there, and I look forward to watching all those guys get out there. And even sometimes I pick up Elon every now and then when they're on one of the TV shows, or
Georgia Southern in 2 weeks.
Georgia Southern, yep. And we'll watch that. Matt Gilbert, keep an eye out for those guys, and that's exciting to watch our kids that we coach, that we know, and just kind of see them out there competing. It's good for our program, and it's fun to watch those guys.
It is something when you see the Walton boys on ESPN. That's a huge thing. Well, folks, you've given us another 20 minutes of your time and watched another edition of the Rocky Hidalgo Coaches Show. We play at Roswell this week, and I'll just give everybody a little bit of advice. Get there early. The visitor stands are a little tight. So you want to get there early for the game. The game is a 7:30 kickoff at Roswell. Once again, this is the Rocky Hidalgo Show, sponsored by Zaxby's. Thanks for tuning in.